Hello and welcome to another episode of Aikido Virtual Dojo. In this one, we'll be looking at the technique Katate-dori, Kaiten'nage. And this technique, from a simple attack Katate-dori by grabbing the wrist, has two variants. There is one variant which is called Uchi mawari, where we go actually on the inside of the attacker's arm. And there is another version which is called Soto mawari, where we go around the arm of the attacker at certain moments. So you will see the two differences. We'll explain it in the technique. And then the technique ends with a projection Kaiten'nage, which is like a big wheel. So we are turning like a big wheel and projecting the uke. So let's go into the details.
Okay, so now let's take a look at the footwork for Katate-dori, Kaiten'nage, Uchi mawari, where we go inside. So the first step then will be cutting out to the side. Then stepping in and underneath as we turn and change position. Afterwards, stepping back behind our partner. And then following through for the projection for the roll and stepping forward. For the Soto mawari, it's similar, but there will be a slight change in the second movement. So again, we start with stepping out. This time, pivoting and doing a tenkan as we come around. And again, stepping back and behind our partner, then finishing by stepping in and through. So let's take a look at the beginning of this technique. We obviously will start with Katate-dori, and we're going to cut out a little bit like the technique Katate-dori Ikkyo. So we're going to step out and cut with both feet. And then at the same time, we want to do an atemi here to occupy the space and connect with our partner this way. Okay? If we don't do that and we open, then we leave ourselves a bit open to maybe a second attack where he could come in. So just opening the space, kind of touching the balance here and also connecting into the center line. Okay? And occupying the space in this way. If we look at this at a slightly different angle here, you might notice that what is different from this technique in Katate-dori Ikkyo is that when I do cut out, okay, I use the body to cut, and I'm going to cut under for this particular technique, and I'm going to come up a little bit higher. Okay, and this is going to prepare the entryway for the Uchi mawari to go into this space here afterwards. Okay, so let's continue now with the Uchi mawari, where we go inside. And we might do this variation for many different reasons. One, if you're a little bit smaller than your partner, sometimes that works well. And also, if you have the possibility to enter a little bit more directly in that way, then this is a good option. So, from here, right, after we open as we did before, then we're going to protect just slightly lower as we come underneath and turn. We want to keep a contact with our partner, and actually even here at the very end, keep that connection with him. If I leave this hand, then he could easily come at me. Okay? So I want to keep this contact into him, from my center line into him, before we move on.
The other option of doing this turn is the Soto mawari, which means outside, so it's going around the arm of the attacker. So to do this one, after the first opening, I still want to keep this connection here alive so that he cannot come back at me. And I will slightly move forward with my front foot, at the same time bringing my fingers up and turning the wrist, connecting through his elbow and shoulder into his center line from this hand. So this takes his balance, and I keep this connection alive all the time during the turn to make sure that he cannot come back at me. When I start the tenkam, I start turning around, pivoting my wrist inside his hand, and keeping the connection all the time. So at the end, I also want to be on his center line. I don't want to let him come back at me here. Once we got into this position, actually we are aligned in the same direction with the uke. So I'm looking in the same direction as he's looking, our handmits are aligned, and we can move on the same line together. Now from this connection here to the center line, I will let the uke come back at me, and at the same time I will start taking back a big step with the leg which is on his side. So as he starts coming back, I release him a little bit, I guide him, making a big wheel here, big spiral movement. I guide his hand here behind his back, and I place the other hand on his head. And even for here, so this is the position, I place the hand here, because this will prevent him from coming back up again. So he's not strong enough to come back against this hand. In case I place it a bit lower on the neck, for example, he can come back. He can force his way up. And the other thing is that even though I'm standing next to the line where his feet are, my feeling energetically is that I'm behind him here. So for the projection, I need to make sure that I'm kind of energetically behind and not just standing here and moving in this line without him.
As we do the Kaiten'nage, and we make the transition here as we cut back and move into the Kaiten'nage itself, then there's a transition here that happens with the hand. So from here, we want to pass through the space between the thumb and the fingers. Okay, this space here. So as we cut back, we want to move up and grab the wrist in this way, and then eventually and finally taking his arm and wrist into the hand here.
So from this position, holding the uke here by his wrist and by his head, I will take a step forward, sending him into a fall, into an ukemi forward, into a forward ukemi. But I don't want to go too high with the hand. If I go here up, he can actually turn around and get out of this technique. So what I want to do is to stay closer to his lower back with this movement. And actually the way I was explaining it many years ago, and I found it quite funny and interesting, is that you imagine driving a big truck or a big bus, and you have to take a turn. So you use the steering wheel, and as you move forward, you turn the steering wheel to the center.
If you like our video, give us a thumb up and share it with your friends. You can also subscribe to receive notifications about new videos being published. More information is available in the channel description as well as through the links section.